think about this before so I don't forget. I hope everybody on Facebook got to hear and see that. I'm not sure if I was holding it right, but like I said, I'll share that video, you guys, on our Facebook page. Gosh, I love that we get to do this. I love that Arbonne is all about this. And whenever I was reading this chapter, I was like, God, how am I going to get through all of this and help everybody know what it is that this chapter is saying that we need to do to make a difference? And then I saw that video and I was like, okay. And it was funny because it kept popping up as I was watching something. And I was like, okay, I'm going to watch this video. And it was everything that really this chapter is saying to us and helping us learn that is important to be a positive leader. And I just am so grateful that this vehicle, you guys, is what we have to do life with. Some people have to figure out how to do those 5 things and how they're going to be able to do it, or how are they going to get the resources to do it? What is it that, how are they going to find the people to help? You have it at your fingertips with every single thing that we have and do to be able to share and have with the Arbonne vehicle. And it starts in your home with your team, and also then out into your community. And you're like a river, like one of the other things that I was watching this week. It's like you're a constant source for people in Arbonne. That's what we get to be. And they say we need to be a river in our life and not a reservoir, if you've ever heard that analogy. A reservoir takes and holds and tries to keep everything for themselves, but it goes nowhere and it's stagnant. A river is constantly flowing and is a source that goes out into the farms and the communities and all of the things that need the water source in order to produce life. And we get to be a river, constantly being a source for people. And that's what this whole chapter is about. It talks about how we have to love, care, and serve. John Gordon has another book. I think it was called Training Camp, maybe. I'm not sure which one it is, but his whole foundation is we have to care, we have to love, we have to serve. And that's what we get to do in this business. But this chapter talks about how love is a verb. Love is an action. And that's how people are going to know you care. And John Maxwell says all the time, people don't care how much you know till they know how much you care. And we have to be inconvenienced in order to be able to serve people. And that's what we come in here, you guys, so needy sometimes that it's hard to take our focus off of what our needs are and focus on somebody else. And the call last Wednesday talked about how to sponsor strategically and with skill. And everything we do and start with in this business to be able to do that is we listen to people, and we are working to be a river that provides the source and the solution to their problems. That's what we do in this business, and are constantly in motion for doing that. So we get to be love in action every day because you have a vehicle that is going to be a source that will always be able to provide for people. So what it says is being someone your team wants to follow. So you guys, people that are kind and serve and love and care, people are attracted to that. People feel cared for and loved by you, so they want to follow you. And that's how we become the leader, because they follow you as a person first, then they pick up and follow your vision that you have. But who you are is the most important thing about how we lead. And then again, it says, do you care about me? People don't care unless they know what you know until they know how much you care. So loving people is just the foundation of everything. And I would ask you, do you naturally love people? Like, I naturally love people. It's so easy for me to love people. But some people struggle. Some people say they don't. And I would encourage you to go back and ask yourself first, is this something that's easy for me? Because if it's not, you're going to struggle in this business, because we are in a people business. And love is the greatest leadership principle on the planet. So we are going to get successful because we influence other people to follow us, and we do it by loving people. If that's simple for you, and you're a grace giver, and you naturally care, and you naturally serve, and you naturally think about others before you think of yourself, this business is going to be exciting for you. If that's not where you've grown into yet, it's going to be a struggle for you. And it's okay, because life, you guys, presses down on us so hard that it covers up who you really are. You all have the capacity to do and be what it is he's saying we need to be to become a great leader and build great teams and relationships. But life sometimes covers up the real you. And one of my favorite things is to start watching pressure come off of people, because they do get their practical needs met by this vehicle, and they're able to look up and start having bigger dreams and more meaningful dreams that are going to allow them to look up and notice what somebody else needs, and to be develop the capacity to serve in that way. But love is the greatest principle on the planet, you guys. And when you talk about Arbonne, like, Arbonne's constantly evolving, changing. We're always saying and challenging you to stay relevant and keep up with the times and keep up with everything that it is that we have to use and do and share with. But those are techniques. The principles of what we do are always permanent. And so principles are permanent, techniques are temporary. And the love is the greatest leadership principle on the planet means that it's a permanent thing that is not going to go anywhere. Every great leader first loves. And that is what we have to develop the capacity to do. And it starts by caring for people and developing compassion. It is something that can be developed if you don't have it. You have to, it says his clients, and this on page 103, it talked about this salesperson of this company. He said his clients, he loved his clients, and they know it. And you guys, on our team, our clients are our team first, and then our clients that we serve and take care of with just the products. And Dr. Tom Barrett, whenever he talks about your 15 minutes of focus every day, he says, make a list of 9 people a day. And what that list could consist of, and if you're brand new, you may not have all of this yet, so you're starting out with, all prospects. But he says you need to have 3 prospects that you're going to contact today. You're going to have 3 customers, current customers, that you're going to contact today, and you're going to have 3 team members. And that should be how your list breaks down, because you guys, we need to remember to serve our team as much as we're serving our clients, and vice versa. We have all of that to serve, love, and care for. And if you slow down long enough to let them know how much you care, you will develop a customer for life and a team member that will never want to leave you, just because they know how loved they are by you. And they'll want to be a part of that community that we talk about all the time, and that our CEO says, the gift of solidarity, the gift of the community that we have that is passionate about helping other people live healthy lives and put that out into their world wherever they are. So we have those people that we can call if you make that list. If you don't have clients yet or team yet, you're going to call your 9 prospects, and you're going to start there. But eventually that's how you're going to break down your list. And he says, love the people you lead and work with. And that is, I always wrote down here, be someone your team is proud of. The team that has, that they want to follow you because they're proud of you. Whenever they speak of you, they edify you. And you guys, we should edify always, no matter what. I mean, you can have a leader that honestly could be a little bit of a scoundrel. Let's say, and maybe you do think, I hope not, but that I'm a little bit of a scoundrel and that my heart may not be pure or whatever. You can have leaders that do that, but still edify them. You could still say, she has an amazing business. She has a 4 wide NVP plus other VPs and leaders on her team that she has raised up. And you don't have to say one negative thing. You can spread positive gossip, which is what this book talks about as well. So even if you struggle with a leader, this book is challenging us to be positive no matter what. And that's also a skill set that can be developed. We don't have to be, we don't have to agree, and you're not going to agree and line up with every single person in every area of their life, but you can not spread negative gossip about that person, and you can always find something positive to spread and say about that person that helps people focus on what is good in that person and not focus on the negative. We all focus on the negative enough that we will not be able to find any good if we don't intentionally look for the good. And if you look for the good in somebody else, you're going to find the good in you. And that's the struggle and the work that we're doing probably more than anything, is figuring out how good you are and believing that, so that you can feel confident to share you with your world. He says, when you love someone, you take time to invest in a relationship with them and help them improve and grow. And that's what we're all on here on this journey doing, is we're improving and growing. And maybe we start out not nice. I mean, a lot of us, I promise you, people tell me all the time, you're not who you used to be when you started this business, Carlita. And again, it was because I had layers of stress on me. Today, I don't have a lot of that stress on me, and I get to be who I really am. But we're all here to improve and grow. But we need to edify and spread positive gossip about that person on the journey. And like, if nothing else, I'm always like excited that people are growing. Like, maybe people are not like really great, nice people, and you can legitimately say that, but are they here in this business, and are they putting out effort to grow and become a better version of themselves? That's where I give grace to people, because I need grace, but I give grace because I'm like, maybe these people have never been taught how to be their best self. And yet, look, today, how exciting it is that they found this vehicle, this home, that is absolutely going to help and challenge them to become a better version of themselves. And they're stepping up to that challenge. Like, I edify that. I celebrate that, because it's what I've done and what I know we're all going to have to do. He talks about communication, building trust, and how we have to communicate. And you guys, this is something that is a little bit of a dance in this business. It has a perfect system in a way that a perfect system can flow, but it also has things about it that can mess up the flow if we're not careful. And it's probably not, I don't know that I'm going to be able to get it out right, but it is where I wrote down, communication goes both ways. We need to communicate with each other. Like right now, I may do most of the talking on this, but we're communicating. You guys are chat. You're welcome to chat at the end of this, whatever you need to do. But we are spending time with each other, talking to each other, helping each other know what we're thinking and what we're doing, and getting to know each other. And able to, when you build that relationship, you can communicate good things, you can communicate hard things, but it's all about communication and keeping those lines open and comfortable, where people know no matter what, you're free to share what it is that's on your mind, but you also have to be willing to receive what is on the other person's mind and hear. You guys, whenever people try to resolve conflicts, this is where the biggest mistake happens. And when you read about any kind of relationship book, people try to go back and say, he said, she said, they did, he did. You're never going to resolve a conflict and have a positive relationship and build positive teams if you try to go back and justify who was more right and who was more wrong. You have to be able to just understand that there's going to be, there was a wrong, probably perceived from both sides in this conflict, and no one's going to get to say what was right, what was wrong. But what the goal is to resolve the conflict. I remember, I don't know if it was a podcast or a book or whatever that I was reading, and it was talking about a mom and her teenage daughter, and her daughter had an horribly messy bedroom all the time, and it would just drove the mother crazy, and she'd fight with her daughter and everything. And not that I condone messy bedrooms, you guys all know, messy house, messy life and stuff, but at the end of the day, the counselor said to the person, you can either have a daughter with a clean room or you can have a good relationship with your daughter. Which one do you really want? And when you get a good relationship with somebody, you guys, it goes down to what my devotion was telling me this morning was you want to obey whenever you have a good relationship and there's love involved. Your heart is to please that person. And so when you get a good relationship, the daughter wants to build and contribute to that relationship that she's enjoying as well, and wants to please and will clean the room. But you guys, you can't go back and say, this is what you did, this is what they did. That does not resolve conflict. What you do is you say, I hate being in conflict with you. I know, we both crossed a boundary. Let's agree to not cross that boundary again and move forward from here and start to rebuild the trust. But you've got to communicate, and you've got to be able to share what your heart's desire is. But communication has to go both ways. He says you can't wait for a crisis to hit to start communicating with your team. It's like if your team's rocking and rolling and you're head down working. Yeah, that is good, but you want to be able to be in relationship with your team and be connected to your team, and hopefully your team connect to you, so that when numbers go down, you don't pick up the phone and go, hey, I noticed your numbers are down. What's up? That doesn't feel like people care about you if that's the only phone call they get from you, and yet that's where sometimes that's the approach that we get, and it sounds like that's what we're doing, even though we may really want to help, but it's because we haven't been having this communication before. So that's why, you guys, I'm going to tell you, as you grow in this business, and I'm the biggest example of that in this group because I'm the biggest organization here so far, is that you can't be in communication with everyone on an individual basis. So you rely on your leaders and communicate with your leaders to communicate with everybody else in your organization. And that's the normal, healthy flow. If you also do things like huddles, okay, you have, weekly huddles that we do, and whatever your team does to communicate and to stay connected. Those are things that your leader does for you. And this book is saying leaders need to do. Well, sometimes your leaders are doing it, but are you showing up for it? Are you showing up to be able to communicate with your leader and keep that line of communication open so that you're not just calling your leader in the moment of a crisis? So it goes both ways. A leader can't just call in the moment of a crisis, but you can't only show up for your leader in your crisis moment. You need to show up on the regular basis so that you keep that communication line going, and having that relationship that you can go to for help and as a resource when you need to. He also talks about leading by walking around. And John Maxwell, again, in other books, he says, walk slowly through the crowd. Are you accessible to your team and the people that you're leading? He talks about how he put Bob Goff, who wrote the book Love Does, I think he talked about it in the very beginning of the book. He put his cell phone in the back of his book because he is a love in action. That's his whole foundation of who he is and the books that he writes and what he's putting out to the world. And he put his cell phone in his book, and people, he says, call it all the time. And whenever he answers, they hang up quick, or they say, I'm sorry, I just wanted to see if you'd really answer. And that is like walking slowly through the crowd and being accessible to your team and knowing what is the temperature of my team. Is it hot today? Is it cold today? And you know that because you're in communication and in relationship with your team and having conversation with them. Listening is also another way to be able to be in relationship with your team. He says, listen to them and truly hear what they have to say. Sometimes we as leaders, we get so on a mission to teach you what we think you need to know that we don't slow down long enough to listen to what you're telling us you need to know. And it's so much easier. I love, and this is, you guys, a skill that is developed. I know John Maxwell says every time he's in a meeting or whatever, at the top of his yellow pad, he puts a big L at the top and circles it to remind himself to listen, because it's not his strong point. You know, it's not my strong point either. I'm a fixer. I'm not somebody that sits and just listens to somebody, but you have to listen sometimes to know, how can I best help this person? And if you go back to the Wednesday training that we did, I put on there, always listen first. In everything we do, we listen in 3D, like Tom Barrett talks about, dreams, desires, discontents. And then you're going to know which angle you need to go and help people fix their problem, whether it's somebody, you know, in the world that you get to help introduce them to Arbonne with, or whether it's somebody on your team that you get to listen to what it is. When people say, I don't have anyone to call, or I don't have activity, you know, you're like, well, what's your activity look like this month? I don't have any. No activity is not their problem. You got to listen and figure out what's the root of that problem and where is their obstacle. And this is a leadership skill that every time I goal set with people, even areas and regional vice presidents, it's the area that I see we need to develop in the most. Helping people overcome obstacles and hesitations, and not just accepting the first no, or I'm on the fence, and letting it sit there. Closing the deal to an appointment to always introduce people to more. And the way we do that is we listen. We're in communication with these people, but we're listening, because they're not saying no to the gifts and the blessings of this opportunity. They're saying no to something about their life that keeps them from thinking this could be something that would work for them, just like it is in working for us. He also says, smiling is what we can do to enhance positive communication. He says smiling, and you guys, I smile more because of Arbonne. I mean, every time I walk through a crowd, because I used to practice it at Arbonne events like GTC and all those big events, because I'm like, I don't know who I'm seeing. And, you know, I want them to know, whoever it is, I'm excited to see you. But then I thought, gosh, the whole world needs that. And I just learned how to smile as I walk slowly through the crowd. And I mean, when I travel to other countries and stuff, a smile is the universal language for saying you care about somebody, you love people, and not just having your head down and walking and being on a mission. And he says smiling is a big part of positive communication. It produces more serotonin in your brain. And it also produces, you guys, more serotonin in the brain of the recipient of your smile. So whoever you're smiling to, you get a boost of serotonin because you're smiling. You're giving a boost of serotonin to the person you just smiled at. And he says you're giving them a dose of antidepressant. He says never underestimate the power of a smile. And then he talks about spreading the positive gossip here, and not, you know, being afraid to have positive, to not be afraid of having communication. He says positive leaders and communicators also listen to and welcome ideas and suggestions of how they can improve. This is another area that I want to share on, you guys, because sometimes our teams come to us and they're telling us what they need. They're telling us they need something. And if we are the leader that's like, I've given you everything you need, like you've got it all, you don't need anything else, instead of hearing somebody say, you know, I really need help doing this. Like I was doing a goal setting call and everybody was like, I was doing what I always do. And somebody said to me on this call, I'm good at this. This is the part that I'm struggling with. She told me, I listened, and she told me where she needs me to help her do even more than what I thought she was needing from me. If I'm not a leader that hears that, number one, I'm going to miss the opportunity to help her past her obstacles. But number two, if I get upset because she just won't do what I just told her to do, and if she did, it would just fix it and all her problems would be solved, then we're not going to jive together. We're not going to work and communicate well together, because she still feels a need that I'm not hearing and understanding and helping her to fulfill and meet. We have to be willing to hear, you may think I'm getting this, but I'm not. And not be so prideful as a leader that we're not comfortable going, okay, help me help you. That's all I want, is to help you. So what I've done is what I've tried to do. Tell me what it is you're still needing from me, and I will do my best to figure out how we can help you in that area too. You guys, if you get defensive when people come to you because maybe you don't know the answer, maybe your pride creeps up a little bit and you go, oh, I don't know the answer to this. And you know what? Just do what I told you to do. And I know that sounds harsh, but in some ways when you go, you're great, you're fine, just keep doing what you're doing. That's the same kind of answer to people. It's like they're asking you for something else. And whenever I have people talk to me, I'm like, if it's somebody that's not directly to me and they're like, I just need this, I'm like, your leader can give it to you. I have no doubt. I have 100% faith in every leader that we have in this organization, because either they have the resource or they have the resource. They either have the answer and what you're needing, or they have a resource to get it. And what they need to know, more importantly, is that you're needing something. They need to know that you have a need. And if you will go to your leader and tell them, I have a need, this is where I'm still struggling, then your job as a leader is to go to work. We're not supposed to know all the answers, you guys, but we are certainly supposed to go, you know what? We're going to work on this till we figure it out. And we're going to get you past this obstacle, because we can. There is nothing in Arbonne that can stop us from moving where we want to go if we just keep working hard enough in that direction. So I just want us to know that if you're new and you're like a little scared to lead because you don't feel like you have all the answer, or if you're a seasoned MVP on this call and you don't know all the answers, it's okay. None of us do, but we are better together. Not one of us is smarter than all of us, and we have the resources to be able to get what it is we need to move forward and grow. So don't fear criticism. Don't fear when people say, yeah, I know you've done this, but I'm still not getting it, or I still need this. Don't get upset by that. Just go to work and be willing to be inconvenienced a little bit more to develop a way to help that person in your organization get better and stronger in what it is that we have to do here. He says, be an encourager. There's always, everybody has a sign on their head. I wrote that Rita Davenport used to say that says, make me feel important. And he says, we all need encouragement and positive communication if we're breathing. If you're a breathing human, you need encouragement and positive communication. So be an encourager to people. Believe in others more than they believe in themselves. He says, the difference between success and failure is belief. And so often this belief is instilled in us by someone else. You can be the person for the people you lead if you believe in them and see their potential rather than their limitations. That's everything we've been talking about this morning, you guys. Seeing the good in people and the strengths in people, not just what they're not doing with their life and in their life. It's amazing what people will accomplish when they know you believe in them. And I've talked about that so much in all of these calls, and even earlier in this book where that teacher worked in the inner city of New Jersey, and she would hold the kids' face in their hands and tell them how great they were and how much she believed in them. We all have the opportunity to be that person for every person in our life. And whenever we speak life into people, and I'm here because people believed in me more than I believed in myself until I started believing it too. And now we turn around and we pay that forward, and we help our team believe it so that they can become unstoppable. And he, John Gordon talks about how he was so focused on his career. His whole family, honestly, you guys, was falling apart at the pieces. I mean, his His daughter was struggling in school. His wife was like shutting down. And he honestly, he says he wanted a new team. He wanted to be able to like not be on that team and his family anymore. And you guys, so many times people think it's easier just to go get a new team instead of becoming a better teammate. And that's what he did in his when he shares. He says that he gave more of his time and became more committed to his team. And his team that he was talking about in the one section was his family. And he said he started praying with his kids when they went to bed. He did laundry for his wife. He got involved in their everyday challenges. And he said, in short, he became committed to his family. And he was making time to serve his family. And he realized that he didn't need a different team, that he needed to become a better leader. So how many times have you ever said, or wanted, he says in here, have you ever wanted a different team? Maybe you wanted a different team in your home life sometimes as well. Or maybe you wanted a different team in your Arbonne business and you wish you had somebody else's team. And he says, but maybe we just need to become more committed and become a better leader, and everything be focused on we instead of me. And he says he became a better leader. And ironically, he said that's when his books and his career took off, is when his family life got better, his career life got better. And he said his son was talking to a chiropractor or somebody at a conference. And he said the chiropractor told his son, well, John is kind of famous. And he said his son replied, not in our house. He does laundry. And he said when his wife, it was his wife taking his son to a chiropractor that had been at one of his conferences. And he said whenever his wife told him that story, he lit up because he didn't want to be a household name. He wanted to be a big name in his household. And that's, you guys, where we have to start. I love it whenever I go and I am a name in Arbonne. But you know what? I come home and I'm Blake and Lindsay's mom. I'm Philip's wife. I'm Brooks's Pippa. I'm just me to them. That makes me cry because that's my greatest role, is leading my family. And when you lead your family well, everything else will go well. If you don't lead and get committed in your home and in your family, you're not going to know how to commit to a team and be the person and the leader that you need to be for your team. So he says, believe all success starts with making the team, home team, work team, sports teams around you better. So you've got to help everybody get better, but it's going to take you being committed, and it's going to take you connecting and building relationships that drive growth. And he says, being committed, every leader wants committed people on their team. We all want a committed team, but if you want commitment, you must be committed. And you guys, I always say all the time, if you want to bleed, if you want your team to bleed, you have to hemorrhage. You have to be willing to do more than anyone else on your team. Serve to be great. He says leaders take time to serve their teams. Jesus washed feet. Martin Luther marched and went to jail to fight for equality. Mother Teresa fed the poor and healed the sick, and on and on and on. You guys, it's all about the we, not the me. And instead of focusing on that, when you do the others, you will be the best leader for your team. And it starts, like I said, in your home. It's not about us. Commit to coach. And you guys, we do coach. And again, this is a two-way street. Whenever you're in this business, you have a lot of people. That's the goal, is to be able to lead many. And what slows people down or scares people is thinking, I'm so busy helping these few. How can I have any more on my team and me still help and be committed to them? And you can by working with your leaders and raising up leaders that pay forward like a river flowing through to their team, and always being there as a team, but it working through the flow. But the way that flow works is as we work with our leaders, you have to be able to connect to your leaders. Even leaders need to connect to their leader. I mean, all the way up. You're never going to be on this journey alone unless you go out and make yourself a reservoir. You have to be, you know, the new consultant, new districts, areas need to be connected to their VP, their NVP, and the VPs above them, just like we are here as a global group of NVPs working and uniting together and building relationships together. But you also, it goes all the way up to our leaders have to be committed and connected to the leaders. Sometimes when we hit RVP level, sometimes we're like, okay, I need to go lead my team. No, you don't. You need to just keep doing what you're doing and stay connected to the leader that is leading you, and us still always work as this unit that's better together. Not one of us is smarter than all of us. And when we start doing all of these little things everywhere with our teams, your team doesn't know who to follow. They don't know who are they connected to. And it flows. If everything flows like it's supposed to, we all work as a unit. What we do together as a leadership group, we share together with all of our leaders, and those leaders then push it out to their leaders, and those leaders push it out, and it works in this beautiful flow. You don't need to have your team connected to you here and then with the NVP over here and all of this. It just starts getting jumbled up. If the flow just stays the way it was supposed to, it's clean, it doesn't confuse, and it doesn't add extra work that is going to take away from you going out and being the source for other people out there in the world that still need this. So don't be afraid. You're never going to be able to do or having to do more than you need to. People, you know, look at 10,000 being area manager qual, and they're like, I don't know how to do 10,000. I'm like, you did 2,500. That's all you ever need to focus on in this business every day. Again, back to Wednesday call, 2,500 is you helping 8 people. And you're looking for more people that want to join your team to help more people. But that person is going to go help their 8 people. That's 2,500. We're going to help that person get and build a team. They're going to help people. That's 2,500. And it's everybody doing 2,500. 16 2,500s is what builds a region. You're still doing 2,500, but you're leading and teaching and serving and caring and committed to helping other people learn how to do their 2,500. So every number, 10,000, 40,000, 160,000, you just need to know, I need to do 2,500 consistently this month and move forward in that with my team and teach them how to do the exact same thing. He does talk about commitment requiring success. And he says that, I love this story, you guys, that he says, when you help others improve, you improve. And Swin Nader was brought on to a basketball team in college when John Wooten recruited him to play at UCLA. And he says that Wooten told him that he wasn't going to play a lot of games. So this guy got recruited by the greatest coach of all time, but was told when he got recruited, you're not going to play much. And he said, I need you to help Bill Walton, who was the best center in the world, to practice every day and to be his competition. And he said Nader would have the opportunity to play against Walton every day in practice. Wooten wanted a 6'11" Nader to challenge and push Walton to improve. So Nader accepted his role during his time at UCLA, and every day in practice, he focused on one task, making Walton better. Do you work to help make other people better? I know, are you willing to help your leader even do better? Walton improved something as while he was helping Walton improve, something interesting happened. Nader also improved. He was the only player ever, you guys, in the ABA and NBA history to be drafted in the first round, never having started a collegiate game. He got drafted into the pros, you guys, even though he hardly played any time at all in college, because he practiced against the best. And he was willing to sacrifice his name and lights and be the practice dummy at practices for the best player in the world to be able to go out and shine his light. But in the process, he got and developed skills because he was challenged by the best every single day. And that's what happens, you guys, whenever you help somebody else get better, you get better. When a leader gets asked to do something that you're not doing or providing for somebody on your team, they're asking you to get better as their leader. It doesn't say you're not a great leader. It's just saying, I need you to be a better leader to me. And that's what we all are challenged with every day. When people come to me with their struggles, it's like, I know I do a good job. I know I'm a great leader, but I need to become a better leader for this person so that I can lead them to where I know they can go because I believe they can. So that's what we have to be humble enough to do and willing to do. And he says that he was named Rookie of the Year and went on to have a 12-year career in the ABA and NBA. And he's a great example of how when you help your team get better, you get better. When you focus on helping others improve, you improve. When you lose your ego in the service of others, you find greatness within you. And then it says that he went on, and after playing ball, he works now as an executive with Costco, and where he makes everyone around him better. He says, so I can tell you, when you commit to being a positive leader dedicated to others, you will be well on your way to transforming your team and the world. You guys, that is the cool story. That is the one where we get to what we do every single day. We get to help other people get better. But because we do, we're getting better in the process. So he just talks about positive leaders care, which we talked about that. They care about changing the world because they know the world needs changing. Because they care, they do more. They give more. They encourage more, they help more, they guide more, they mentor more, they develop more, they build more, and ultimately accomplish more. But you know what, you guys? It's because of hard work and sweat equity that they do, because they care more than most people. So what is your caring trademark? What do you think the world would say is your trademark for caring? I know my family would probably say that my trademark is what John Gordon's trademark is, feeding my family. That's one of my trademarks for my family, is they know that I love getting us together, feeding them, and even bringing them home for the food that they love. And that's what John's mom did the last time he got to see her coherent, because she was dying of cancer on the last visit that he had with her. And he said they were walking and she was getting tired as she was walking. And he said the sandwich, and he says her caring trademark was cooking for him. And he said they continued to walk. And even though he was about to drive home, and she said, I need to go to the store and get some food to make you a sandwich for your drive home. And she didn't have the energy, you guys, but she did it anyway. She pushed through the pain of fighting the cancer and it beating her, because she was near the end, and went to the store, came back, walked into the kitchen and made him a sandwich. And he said on his drive home, he said, I ate her sandwich, but didn't think much about it at the time. He says, now over 10 years later, I think about that sandwich a lot, because it was the last time I saw my mom fully conscious. She was fighting for her life, yet on that day, her biggest priority was to make me a sandwich. Looking back, I realized she wasn't just making me a sandwich. She was showing me what selfless love and positive leadership are all about. And he said his mom was the first leader that he ever met, who was his greatest coach and encourager, and the one who loved and served him and cared for him and about him like no one else. And that she got to do that until the day that she died. And that he found later that she served her team at work in the same way that she served her family. And by doing those little things with big doses of selfless love is how we best serve other people. So unity, relationships, teamwork are developed slowly, one day, one interaction, one moment, one loving, serving, and caring act at a time. And you guys, we can all start caring and serving more today. That video says, what are you going to do with your 2019? Maybe you're like, well, 2019 is almost over. No, your 2019 can begin today, because we can accomplish so much in the last 4 months of this year if we decide to turn our focus on what we can do to make a difference in somebody else's lives, and let that be your mission. Let that be your passion that you work with every single day, that you do those 5 things that he talked about every day. You ask, Who can I add value? Do I value people? Who can I add value to? Look for ways to add value to people. Do things that add value to people and encourage others to add value to people. Do you know what a difference we can make for the rest of this 2019? So I encourage you to go back and watch that video again and think about that and be grateful for what you get to do with this vehicle that we have, and see what you come up with as your caring trademark for the rest of 2019. And start with being a better, more committed leader to your family at home, so that you quit wanting a different team, and be a more caring and committed leader in your Arbonne business, so that you can quit wanting a different team. Because when you do that, you guys, you're going to be doing personal activity. You're going to be getting new team, because that's what we're here to do. But your team you have will get better. When I do goal setting calls and I hear people say, you know, this is only doing 500, or this person's only going to, you know, this is all they ever do. I always think, gosh, they could do more. I don't ever let somebody sit there and think, gosh, just because that's what they have done doesn't mean that's all they can do. What is it that's the obstacle? What is it that's holding them back? What can we do to maybe help them move forward from here? If they're still here doing 500, they love Arbonne. That's a great starting spot. So let's see what we can do from there. And maybe if we give them the system and we you know, provide the principles and the coaching that we can and do, but then they do nothing with it. Okay, fine. But that doesn't mean that I still don't think that they're going to be able to do something in the future. And we got to always go back and revisit those people over time, and hopefully get those people to get into communication with us and be connected to us, so that we can help them grow into the national vice president that all of us can be. So I don't care what the stats say. I believe there can be an MVP in everybody, because there is, and you can. So anybody want to share what you got out of this chapter and share, because it was big and loaded and convicting.
Carnita, I'll just say this has definitely been the most convicting chapter, and I love that video that you shared. I literally have been just writing that down every day, like, not necessarily who can I add value to, but how am I treating my team at home? You know, like how, because my attitude impacts the rest of the team. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you don't even recognize. I've just been asking God to show me where there's negative things in my life towards people, towards my kids, towards my husband. And it's crazy how when you ask God to show you, he will. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's not even the things we do out loud, it's the thoughts that we think, but then those create, you know, hardness in your heart, and you just get frustrated at people instead of recognizing the value that they bring to the table. And so, yeah, we're all a work in progress, but man, I feel like this week I've seen so much work that needs to be done in me. I'm like, oh God, forgive me.
Oh my gosh, it's so convicting. And you're like, okay, I need to evaluate this and look inward first and do your best to okay, acknowledge it and then decide, what am I going to do about it? And you guys, I have times, I mean, we have wonderful people. I mean, you chose the person that you're married to, right? I chose Philip because he was wonderful. And yet there are days, as wonderful as he is, my mind, all I see is negative. You know, I'm like, and it's just like everything he does, I'm like, well, that just annoys me, or this or whatever. And I'm like, when I feel like that, you guys, I love that I'm old and I have wisdom, because I've been there enough times that I go, you know what? I'm feeling that because that's how I'm feeling inside. And it's all I'm seeing in him and in every other person in my life. And it starts with me. And I have to, what I make myself do because of experience now is I make myself think of all the wonderful things that he is. And there are so many wonderful things in every person that will show up for you if you look for them. It's just like, are you spreading the negative and looking at the negative? Or are you spreading the positive and finding the positive? And and you spread it in yourself first, and then you put it out to the world. So whatever you're seeing in people is what you're putting out to people, but what you are seeing is what you're focusing on. So just choose to focus on the good, because there's good. And then when you do that, that's what John did, and he got a better team at home, and now they have this awesome family that, helped him create then an awesome business, and all the good starts flowing. You can't have a messed up life and have a great business. So the simple fix is see the positive, because it's there. But it's like you said, Sherry, it's like we see the negative and we're like, I just wish I had a new, and that's the world's mentality today. Just get new. No, let's go to work and let's be more committed and fix what we got.
I love that, Carlita. Your grass is green where you water it. And I remember that in every area of my life, especially in marriage. And what you just said sums everything up. So good.
Yeah.
This was my favorite chapter. Like, it literally fired me up. I love it. I love it.
I know. It makes you want to go do better,
Oh my gosh, so much. Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. Love you.
Carnita, I did the same thing. I wrote down on little 4x6 cards, like I just put to my kids in Gannon, and I just wrote down the positive qualities in them and the strengths that I see in them. And two of my kids are in the car with me right now. And my goal is, I've just been kind of slowly doing this week with reading this chapter. My goal is I want to sit down with them and just show them all the good that I see in them. But I also want to focus on it daily and help call it out. But then, and I did the same thing with Gannon. And it's crazy when you focus on the good, like your heart gets overwhelmed with gratitude for the good.
Yes.
And I cry. And you start realizing how blessed you are to have what you have. And so, and even doing the same with like my home, because I still see all these projects that I want to do in my home. Yet I sat and I'm just like, God, I have so many things to be grateful for what I have right now. And yet we often just look for what we don't have. And so learning to be so grateful for what we do have, especially when you look at it in comparison to the world, we're part of that 1% in the United States. If you have a car, if you have running water, if you have electricity, like those things alone are enough to be so grateful for. But then to add it's just crazy what you focus on will become what grows in your heart. But then the other thing I did was I wrote down the good inside of me that others have pointed out, because that's often what's hard for me to see, and I see the ugly so much that you focus on the ugly inside of yourself, and that ugly will come out too. And so I wrote down the good that others have called out in me multiple times, and then the good that I've asked God to show me the good that He sees in me and that He put in me, because I want to call that out. But anyway, we're known by our fruits, and we make Him known by our good works. And I think it just all comes back to serving and adding values. I love that video. Anyway, I'm done. I love this chapter. Thank you for sharing it so well. I'm about to blast this out to everyone and tell them if they haven't listened to it again.
Okay. And you know what? You're talking about doing it for your kids. I mean, Brooks is like 18 months old, and he's like in that, sometimes he gets aggressive and stuff. And we're always like, don't do this and don't do that. Cause he's just, in that non-communicative yet, explorative stage. And I'm like, we're saying no and don't so much in my head. I haven't even shared this with Lindsay or anybody else, but I'm like, I want him to know what's good about him. So every time he does something, like if I say, put this up or bring this to me, I'm like, you're such a good boy. You are so good. And thank you. And just telling him what I see in him that is good, so that we're not just like, no, don't. Yeah. And you just have to think about that's what your team needs at home with your family, but it's also what your team needs in Arbonne. Tell them what they did that's good and help them know what they can do that's even better. That's what I was working with the areas and the VPs even this week. I'm like, what you guys have done is you've learned how to do this part so well. Now you're at a stage where we get to grow to a whole new level, and we need to help you learn how to get better at this part, and I know we can do it. So those are the things that we just have to do with everybody, focus on their good while we're helping them get better. Okay. So I know we can do it, you guys. We're doing it together. You're not alone, and just keep the communication going both ways and stay humble in this journey, because it's easy. I always say this is saying it's easier to stay humble than it is to get humbled, and you will do one or the other on this journey. So just stay humble and let it help you grow into the bigger, better version that you all have the opportunity and ability to do. So love you all.